We are graced by the presence of the one, the only Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports, talking everything from football to what he saw and heard at the press conferences today and yesterday. And hey, maybe even some basketball at the end. Who's to say? Stay tuned to find out.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The greatest people in the world, the watchers, the listeners of Locked On Spartans. How on earth are you all doing? Thank you so much for kicking off your day with us here. Yes, at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. And we are joined not just by Stephen Brooks. No. Birthday boy, Stephen Brooks. Let's go. Happy birthday. Wow, you look just incredible today. Why? Thank you so much for spending some of your birthday with us here. How you feeling, man? Are you feeling okay on your big day?
Yeah, I'm all right. Good on you for doing your homework, I guess. Yeah, I've been saying I'm redshirt 29 all year because I wasn't ready to cross that threshold, but now I'm 2 years. I'm 31 officially now, so I can't use that excuse. So I just got to roll with it and accept. My days are numbered here, and my youth is completely gone, and all that. So yeah, no, it's been good so far. This makes it better, man. Always talking to you makes it better. So. Hearing from Scottie Hazelton and all these guys, I mean, it's been a banner birthday, no doubt.
Talking with Scottie Hazelton, talking with me, it's just everyone's favorite people in East Lansing. This is great. What great vibes on a birthday. But no, you get a COVID year along with your redshirt year. So as far as I'm concerned, you're still 29. So we'll just keep it like that for the foreseeable future. Good, because you're going to have to. Hey, you know what? Just like you said, today you spent this wonderful Tuesday. Scottie Hazelton was the assistant coach, ironically enough, that was sent to speak with the media at practice today, Tuesday. Usually it's just like a random coach, right? And today was just Scottie Hazelton's number. This wasn't like...
I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it necessarily. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's always at least one assistant coach. Sometimes it's two, sometimes it's one on each side of the ball. There's never really been any pattern to it necessarily. So yeah, and obviously he's a guy that a lot of people want to hear from. So maybe they pushed him up in the order a little bit, but like I don't think it was necessarily like, Scottie, you got to get out there right now and explain yourself.
It wasn't face like the music, right?
Yeah.
Go out to the guillotine and face these people. No, but obviously a lot of people want to hear from him. Tanner Morgan looked like Joe Burrow in the first half, and that's not the first quarterback to do that against Michigan State. So yeah. A lot of people want to hear from him, but did he say anything that perked your ears up, or was it pretty much an afternoon of coach speak and of the sort?
Yeah,
Scottie?
It was a lot of stuff that we've already heard from Mel Tucker, to be honest. And look, I know that everybody wanted him to go up there and just say, hey guys, I'm the worst. I don't even deserve this job. I'm surprised I'm still here. That's what everybody wanted, and that did not happen. Look, he did take some responsibility and say, like, just like a player. He looks back and has regrets and had mistakes, and there's things on his end for sure, that he hasn't liked about how this year's gone so far. But for the most part, he really said, like I said, a lot of the same things that Mel Tucker's been saying, which is, the death by inches line is something that he mentioned today, and he really emphasized a couple of times, like it's not this, to him, it's not this wide ranging disaster. It's on this play, it's one guy's misaligned, and then boom, he gives up the big play. The next play, it's this other guy, taking a false step or whatever, and then boom, the run goes right past him, or what. It's a series of small problems, is what Hazelton said, which echoes exactly what Mel Tucker has said. And Hazelton also said quite a few times, sort of leaned into like their injuries, and just that they're playing. There's a lot of next man up in going on right now, and has been all year. I mean, really, you go back to game one with Snow and Henderson, and every game there's basically been a notable injury on that side of the ball, and you lose Petrowski at Washington, Slade's been out, so there's been some major losses there for sure. Chris Bogle left last game after I thought had a pretty solid first half, so there is some of that for sure, but like. We've also seen some of these weaknesses even back to last year, even when they were healthy. Yeah. So, a lot of his reasoning, like I said, was very similar. It was either inches, it's one little thing here or there, or, sort of like not flat out like, hey, we're not that good, but like sort of coded like, hey guys, there's a lot of next man up happening here right now, and it's on us as coaches to get the backups ready and get them as qualified, as the starters would be and everything. And that's fine. Every coach is going to say next man up, but Mel Tucker will even say though, like at some point it does matter who's in there. Like every next man isn't as good as the last man. That's why you weren't the first man, so it does matter, especially when you have a cumulative effect of these injuries. So that was his reasoning and everything. Like I said, he did take some blame. I don't know if it was super satisfying for everybody. Like I said, I know they wanted him to just go up there and roast himself, but
yeah,
it's interesting at least that they're on the same page, I guess. And he said, things haven't really changed much in the background. He said Mel hasn't like taken the wheel, from his hands and just overtaken everything. He says it remains collaborative, and Tucker, for the most part, sort of seems to be hands off and everything, as he does with the offense, as he does with everything else. He puts in his input, of course, but I don't think he's making his voice any louder this week necessarily than normal. So that was kind of the gist of what he had to say, and they believe that they can fix it, but you can't keep performing like this and keep saying it's little things, because it's like you guys are being paid very well to fix those little things, and how can they keep happening? And he sort of pushed back on the idea that they're not adjusting as well, and I think you can debate that. Of course, like not every casual observer sees everything that they're doing, especially on defense. But I still think that there's more things they could try, more variation, and whatnot. I do think they're easy to read sometimes and easy to predict. So and that's what you see. I mean, when Tanner Morgan has been throwing, 16, 15 passes all year, basically his whole career almost, and then comes out 23 for 26, and they came out throwing too. Like that was the most eye-opening part, is like they didn't come out and run it 3 or 4 straight times. They came out through it three of the first 4 snaps or whatever it was. And like that told the whole story right there, is they felt comfortable enough to change their identity from this ground and pound run heavy team. And they said, screw it, we're going to throw on these guys because they're going to give it up. Sure enough, that's what happened.
No kidding. Yeah. And you know what? Like that is something that Mel talked about yesterday, Mondays with Mel, is that like, yeah, we have some fix ideas for the defense. I'm not going to give them all up right here, but I guess what can those fixes even be? Because, okay, at Washington, you tried to do the whole, hey, we're going to rush 4, drop 7 into coverage. Okay, that didn't work at all. Last week, hey, look, they tried to get some blitzes going against Minnesota. A lot through the tackles, though, like a lot of A-gap, maybe B-gap blitzes, too, that never really got home. Okay, so we tried the whole, hey, throw 7 in the coverage. All right, the next week, we're going to try single coverage against... Where do we go from here now? Like, what's the other option other than just throw 14 guys in the field and hope the referees don't notice? Like, is it just exotic blitz packages? Is it stunts on the defensive? Like, I don't even know like what fixes can be anymore, because we've seen a lot of the ideas already not work out. Yeah,
I don't have a great answer for you there, to be honest. Like, because I don't really know either. Like what you go to. Like, I guess my coworker Justin Thind, you guys all know him, turned to me in the press box on Saturday around halftime, I want to say. He's like, so, all right, so what would you do at this point? I'm talking about defensively, and I'm like, well, I guess just pressure the absolute hell out of them. Blitz your what off. Because look, you're getting torn up and diced up when you sit back and play coverage. So at least get diced up by trying to send some heat at them, like at least try to make it difficult, because if you just sit back, they're going to pick you apart anyway, obviously. So at least try to make it difficult on the quarterback. You somehow or another, their pass rush from the defensive line standpoint has disappeared. And again, injuries play a part of that, but Jacoby Windman, I mean, you asked me on here once, is he K9 of the defense this year? No. So, there's a lot that goes into it, but yeah, I do think, as I mentioned, though, I just think they can do better mixing up their coverages. They still get into this comfort zone of let's just fall back and play cover 3. That's what we know best. That's our comfort zone. They fall back and lean into that, sort of dependency too much, I think. And just, again, I'm no mastermind here, but just work on how they disguise things. I really think that these competent, high-level offensive schemes, now maybe Minnesota probably isn't that, but definitely Washington, could see exactly what they were looking at, and they weren't fooled at all, and they knew exactly how to get the matchups they wanted with all that crazy shifting motion stuff and whatnot. So I just think they've got to change the picture a little bit in terms of pre-snap, what they're doing. And look, that's hard without a 4-year starter in Xavier Henderson. That's hard without Darius Snow, who I've told you I think is probably the smartest defensive player on the team, maybe, and whatnot. So it's hard when you're limited, but yeah, I think you just got to change what people are looking at, because I think it's a little too predictable right now. And of course, I do think you got to mix in more actual press. Even when they're lined up in the line of scrimmage, they're not getting their hands on guys. They're not redirecting routes. They're not jamming them at the line of scrimmage. And like, that's fine if you just want to line up in the guy's face. But if you turn right around and bail out when you do that, what's the point? You should have lined up 5 yards off anyway and gave yourself that cushion, helped yourself out. But when you're going to line up, in that press type of look, then press hard, aggressively, get them off their route and help your D-line, help your pass rush there. So those are a couple things, I guess. I think Hazelton would probably say they've been trying some of that stuff. And so, I guess that's another problem if it's just not working. So, man, I mean, yeah, it's tricky. But to his point, though, and Hazelton made a good point today, I thought, they did play two polar opposite teams, in terms of Washington and just how they want to throw the ball and how creative they are in that sense. And then Minnesota, which is more of just a straight up run the ball at you type of offense. The downside, though, is that both of them were equally successful. So it's not like there's one, Achilles heel that they were able to attack, and then you've got this other strong suit to lean on. Their run defense traditionally has been really good. I mean, for like a decade, we're talking. Like, when have they really not been a good run defense? Going back to the Mark Antonio years and everything. That's still kind of there, I think. That's probably the one thing defensively that you got to feel good about, is that they're going to at least show up and do that pretty well. But, you've got a Maryland team that wants to throw it for 500 yards on you and has the personnel to probably do it.
And you know what? We're going to throw a cliffhanger on everyone, because I'm going to ask you, hey, what's most likely to bounce back next week in Maryland? Is it going to be the defense or the offense? But before you give us that answer, Steven, I just need to say goodbye to you and talk the people's ear off about BetOnline. That's right. It's where the game starts, gang. Start your gambling experience this weekend with BetOnline.net, your number one source for all your football betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find, including the Michigan State game. They are 7.5-point underdogs at College Park. If you believe in our Spartans, hey, BetOnline, go throw a few shekels on our Spartans over there. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information, with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf, is at betonline.net. So head to betonline.net, use your mobile device, learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. And before we throw Stephen Brooks back on the hot seat, that's right. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below. Whatever makes you happy. Steven, 7.5-point underdogs at Maryland. That's a sentence you never want to say, but hey, when your offense is looking that bad and your defense is looking somehow maybe arguably even worse, well, that's going to happen. But with that said, hey, most likely to have a 1-week turnaround, is it the offense for the Spartans or the defense for the Spartans? Please don't say neither. I can't take any more bad news. Just don't.
Yeah,
neither's not an answer.
You got the gun to my head. It's got to be offense. I mean, at this point, what there's nothing that would make me believe that the defense is going to have some bounce back until they do it. I mean, but what evidence would I have? What supporting evidence would I be able to bring to you here? As I just said, they just let a run-first offense go 23 for 26 on them. Through the air. I mean, they completely changed their stripes and had their way with them. So, yeah, there's nothing defensively. I'm not saying they're not capable and it won't happen, but I mean, like, I would be, wishing upon a star, if I said defense. So I have to say offense just by default almost. And I do have serious, I don't think Maryland is this, I guess I haven't really dug into it, but I don't think they're this dominant run defense or anything. So maybe they can get back on track there. As I've said to you, though, I mean, I still have pretty low confidence in the offensive line to figure this thing out. And the party line there is that it's not just them. It's that the backs are missing holes, or that the tight ends are missing blocks, or the receivers aren't cracking guys and getting their blocks. And that is all true. Yeah. But it's not equal shares, of the blame in this. And I think that, that's kind of what they're all trying to, hold hands and project this united front, which is fine. And that's probably what you should do. But I still have very low confidence until proven otherwise that group's going to be able to get it together. But of the two, give me the offense.
Am I a Looney Tune for still holding on to my Payton Thorne stock? And that's a crazy question, especially after what he did on Saturday, which was like nothing good. I'll just say it. Like he not a great game, probably his worst game in a Spartan uniform. But for some reason, I still think he should be the starter. On Saturday, I really don't have a good argument other than like, hey, he has the most starts in the room. He's the most experienced guy. He was a captain last week, but like this is me, the hype train conductor for Payton Thorne. Am I just like in my own head too much? Am I just too in love with Payton Thorne, or are you going to be a rational head and say like, no, it's time to move on from that stock and start believing in Noah Kim?
No, hold on to it. Yeah, it's
okay.
It's tough, because I do think a lot, everybody, all boats, all tides were lifted or whatever. K9 was the tide that lifted all boats last year.
100%. Yeah.
And so obviously Payton was a big part of that. And we haven't seen him take that step that a lot of people assumed he might. But still, no, it's still too early for me. It's still a guy who threw 27 touchdowns. Okay. It's still a guy, who had some really good moments last year. It's almost hard, I got people in my mentions calling out Jay Johnson, and of course they want to bench Payton Thorne and all, but man, like offense looks so hard when you can't block like simple run plays, elementary, middle school type run plays, and just count on 2 or 3 yards even. Like when you can't do that, it's really hard to call an offense. It's really hard to play quarterback when they know that you have no run game and that your play action is toothless and that you have to drop back. And that, to be frank, they can tell that, first of all, that MSU's pass protection has been up and down. I thought it was actually really good against Minnesota, not so good against Washington. But they can tell, when he's jittery in the pocket, and that I don't think that he has the utmost trust, in the protection that he's getting all the time. So it's really hard to do that. Now, that being said, Payton is absolutely, Jay Johnson, I think, has made some bad calls at sometimes, and I don't think he's always willing to lean into the passing game as much as this team probably needs to, and maybe he'll come around on that. And Thorne, when everything else has been great, he's had his own issues. He let that ball drop, on the goal, near the goal line there. He's made some bizarro world throws for interceptions, so he hasn't been perfect either. But I got it, and Noah Kim comes in when these games are over, or one play at a time. But like otherwise, he's been in when these games have been decided, and so he's playing against backups or guys that don't care as much, or it's just the intensity isn't there. So he's got to show me a lot more, before we come out of this and start saying we got to make a QB change here or there or whatever, because Payton Thorne has put a lot out there that I think, should still give him a little bit of leash there. Not unlimited, because we go back to the Peach Bowl, as we mentioned, like this is a string of some iffy stuff here. What a doozy that was. And then
great game.
Last week at Washington, though, it seemed like he had sort of turned a corner there. I mean, he was like 4 for 4 on their last drive.
He was great.
Like 5 for 7 on third downs, something like that. So it's too early to give up on him. He's too smart, too much of a competitor, I think. But you do wonder if he's trying to do too much almost, and if him pressing is compounding some of these issues.
More likely to be a starter on this offense first, is it Noah Kim or is it Eli Collins? Let's do a little cross-positional matchup here because, hey, just like you said earlier and just like Mel said, hey, look, the offensive line isn't perfect, but there are holes sometimes. And most times when the holes are open, our running backs aren't hitting them, which is a not so subtle way to say like, yeah, running backs aren't off the hook either. But there's been chatter about Eli Collins. He's gotten in some games so far. Like, so, hey, who's more likely to start eventually? Maybe out of the bye week, let's call it. Noah Kim or Eli Collins. Or is that a crazy question?
Yeah, I'll still go Eli. I really have a hard time seeing Payton playing bad enough.
Okay,
but there's no B. It's just that I have a hard time seeing him playing bad enough, long enough that's actually a question. And if that comes to fruition, then man, like things have really, really gone south. I know people aren't happy right now, but look, there's still a lot that could be done here. I wouldn't, necessarily predict the happiest finish to the season, but like there's opportunities on the table to do some really big things. So that would have to be a disaster situation, I think, if they're really talking about that. And, I really would, I don't know if it would just be a 1-2, like Thorne, you're out, Kim, you're in. Like if they're having those discussions, I honestly think Caden Hauser might be a factor in that type of conversation, when it's, man, we really need to move on here. And so what is our best option, not just for now or for these next X amount of games, but the future. And, if you're going to make it that drastic of a move, and things are probably as far in the tank as they are at that point, I do think everything would be on the table. So just given that seems so outlandish and far-fetched right now, I'll say Elijah because, I mean, Berger was nicked up, and that's why he didn't start the last game. So injuries happen. It's really been a two-man deal. So injuries happen to one guy. Elijah gets in there and shows out. Boom, maybe he has a great week of practice. Like the path just seems much more realistic, for him, even though he is the third man, on the totem pole right now.
And I have one more question pertaining to football, which actually it's part question, part cry for help, part therapy. Can you just say like one nice thing about the team? Like just something to make us smile, like us fans, please. Like just something, anything. Be creative if you have to.
Yeah, sure. You still got Bryce Behringer out there punting.
Hey,
he's been pretty dang good. Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
He's been otherwise forgive his like kickoff stuff or whatever and all that, but like when he's just punting the football, that's been pretty good. So you got that, and I sort of tongue in cheek when I might write something about this, but like it's not gonna make you guys feel good, but it'll make you feel something in the sense that like nobody can finger point on this offense. Like there's problems across the board. There are to lesser degrees, but it's not like some of those late D'Antonio teams where the defense was elite, top 5 type of defense, and the offense was bottom 5, and you had that ripe for division there. I think at least at this point, it's fairly equal opportunity that like almost everybody can point a finger at everybody else, including some thumbs back at themselves, and everybody can take some blame in this. So I think in a roundabout way, that's sort of a good thing because everybody's all in it together, I guess.
We'll take it. We'll take it. That's how bad last weekend was. We're like, sure, yeah, that's fine. I'll take that as a silver lining. Jesus, but hey, do you know who else deals out silver linings without the bad stuff, Steven? Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group. That's right. Hey, let's sell some farmland. Let's do it, baby, and do it with Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group. Because when it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists with decades of experience in Corn Belt agriculture. No one knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange, expanding your operation, or selling a row crop farm, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. And great service is just the beginning. Acre Pro provides unparalleled land data, including soil ratings, elevation, flood zones, and land valuation across parcels so that you can get the full picture up front and be confident in the entire land market. Your agent will cater to each of your individual needs and help you navigate the complexities of buying and selling land so that the process is made simple. Experience the ease of Acre Pro by working with farmland specialists like Kyle Rule, Brady Hammond, Neil Herr, and Kyle Spray. Visit acrepro.com or call 765-587-3185 and talk to your local land expert today. Again, 765-587-3185. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group. And let's get Stephen Brooks' face back on the screen right now because we're going to talk some shooty hoops. That's right. Enough football talk. I don't think a lot of us can stomach any more of it. But also, Tom Izzo had media day yesterday. Talked to the wonderful media contingent of Michigan State writers, reporters, TV anchors, if you will. Tom Izzo might still be at the podium right now for all we know. He loves to talk long at these things. He hits all sorts of topics like injuries, his schedules, the center position, his retirement. We talked about a lot on yesterday's show, but for you, Steven, was there anything that really piqued your interest the most or anything that he was a little extra candid about that you took as a concrete takeaway?
Well, I think the top line thing has to be that Jaden Akins' injury has been extended. His timetable has been extended a little bit. I think he said about 3 or 4 weeks more, maybe than they initially when they initially said. I might have that wrong. A couple weeks though, and so he'll basically come back right around the end of October, I believe. Now, so a few weeks later, and just after going through the Josh Langford thing, like that's tough to hear. And I'm not saying it's going to end up that way, of course, but like. These foot things, man, it's discouraging. And especially with a guy like Jaden, where A, of course, he's really explosive, but B, like more importantly, he was expected to take like a massive leap forward this year and become like a real go-to type of dude for them. It'd probably be their starting 2 guard with Tyson Walker coming off the bench, playing a little bit of that swing guard position and being able to do both. He was already checking guys, but like he'll be their top perimeter defender again when he's back, and he's going to ask. Went from I think it was 4 points a game. I mean, they're going to probably want him up near 10, 12 or more if he can, something like that. So just much more of a scoring load on him, and so that's a little troubling. Izzo's up front and honest about like his decisions, and I think a lot of people are waiting for it to backfire on him, and some might say they already have with some of these injury deals, but just his decisions to keep the roster short, to not go get any transfers, specifically at center. He said we were going to stick with our guys, try to develop them and stay homegrown like that. It does sound like they're very, very happy with Carson Cooper, and man, they might just luck out in this deal and end up being okay. If they're injury free, they might luck out and be okay, because I saw him a handful of times at Moneyball and I was like, man, like why were there not more people in on this guy? How could you not see some of the pieces were here? He's not a finished product at all. There's a reason MSU was his only power offer and all that, and he got recruited late in the process and this and that. But like, man, some of these veteran coaches and whatnot couldn't see like there's a really nice frame here to build upon, a nice foundation.
7 feet.
And it sounds like it sounds like they're really, really happy with what Cooper's been giving them. So the redshirt plan is certainly out the window. He's definitely going to play for him. And because, I mean, honestly, I still think it's quite a big gamble to be relying on Mady Sissoko for really to rely on him on any type of way, to say he'll be able to give us this every game. I don't think anybody knows that for sure yet. So that's a couple things. The annual retirement question every year he's got to answer, and he says, I feel better than I have in the last 5 years, and I can still take the red eye to Vegas and back, and I still love it, and so this and that. So nothing imminent there, I guess. He said the game won't take him out. The administration of the game will force him out one day, and so that's just more classic Izzo isms, just him sort of railing against, what he sees. And his new one now is, of course, he got a Twitter rant in, but his new thing now is sports gambling, which is interesting. That might be his new target, because he's talking about you can't just win by, you can't just win anymore. You got to win by a certain amount, or otherwise you're getting criticized. And that's another thing, that's on his hit list there.
And, I want to go back to the Mady Sissoko conversation, because I read off a bunch of quotes on the show yesterday, and the one that just puzzled me, I didn't even know how I thought about it, was the quote about Sissoko saying essentially we're starting from scratch with him. Like, okay, cool. That's awesome. Right, maybe this is a refreshed look at his career. Maybe this is the way to go. But then the rational part of me says this is a former top 40 recruit that should have had his jump last year, did not. Do I want to hear that this guy, we have to start from the basement level of him again? Steven, you tell me how I should feel about that quote about a guy that should probably be starting at center this year, because I'm starting to think I should not feel good about that quote, come to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little concerning, just to be blunt. I understand where Izzo's coming from, though, because this is a guy that doesn't have much basketball history, period. And then he has the senior year hand injury, so he didn't get really that development. And then his first 2 years here, he's been the equivalent of a football player on scout team, where it's he's just on the practice, squad, and we'll work with him in individual and everything. But, he's not really factoring into game plans and having to digest game plans and just practicing a main piece of the rotation. He's never been that. So, yeah, that was I get what he was saying, but I think he did sort of mean it in that way. It started from scratch in terms of counting on him as a player, being somebody that every night is going to be a piece of this thing. But the thing that'll never truly digest for me is when he talks about not going after the centers in the portal and everything. It's we want to stick with our homegrown guys. We want to develop guys and not lose anybody. And it's also, to me, I'll never get past yeah, well, would losing Mady Sissoko have crippled your program necessarily, versus the massive gamble that you're kind of making now that he can give you 20 minutes a game, if that, it's it'd be one thing if we're talking about Jaden Akins, and maybe running him out of the program accidentally or something of that nature, AJ Hogarth, whoever. But if you did go get a center and Mady left, does that change anything? I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's you put a sizable bet on this guy, and so it's really got to come together. That's the thing that I can't keep or I can't look past whenever you hear about that.
So this is an analogy I'll be making all season, and you're going to be my first test audience for this one, but getting a 1-year center out of the transfer portal is bringing a sweatshirt to a tailgate, Steven, as we're getting into the colder weather months. It's better than to need one and then have one than to just not have it, but then need what, like, you're just freezing your, off at the game. But hey, at least why not just have a center? Why not? Okay, what if you don't use him? Fine. Okay, at least you had him there, but whatever.
Right. I said during the spring, like, there had to be some like 6'11", dude on the end of like Clemson's bench, with like 23 career games, like a redshirt senior or something. Some dude,
4 limbs, just 4 limbs is all we needed. 4 functional limbs that is 6'10" or taller. That's all we're looking for.
Third stringer from NC State or something who's played 5 minutes a game over his career or something. Somebody like that who's not expecting to be the guy, but would just be happy to get another year to get some change of scenery and to play at a program like Michigan State. Quite honestly, to have that platform. I mean, to just be a role player at a place like Michigan State, there had to be some guys in there that would have been happy with that type of situation. And yeah, I mean, I would have done it. I think everybody agrees outside of that building that they should have done it. And, like I mentioned at the top of the segment, like, I know a lot of people are kind of waiting for it to throw that back in Izzo's face. Like, what the heck were you doing? And we'll have to see, I guess. He did mention also going small a lot. So maybe there's some ideas there about flexibility, and maybe they won't be beholden to playing a true 5 all the time. And maybe you can get by a little bit that way. I think there's a chance this team could be best, when you go small like that. So maybe it doesn't have to be crippling, but I'm in that camp that I don't understand it either.
And just one more thing that actually popped up today on Tuesday is that the Big Ten ACC Challenge game in South Bend is going to be at 9:15. And I could not help to laugh. If you're watching on YouTube, you can clearly see this is on the screen, but they posted a picture of AJ Hoggard. Steven, tell me if I'm wrong here. 9:15 tip-off. Does it not look like even AJ's face is saying, bro, what the hell? Why are we tipping off another game after 9 p.m.? That is so effing late. Just look at poor AJ in this picture. Like, even he looks tired of this game time. Steven, this is the 7th game time for Michigan State coming up this year that is at 9 p.m. Eastern time or later. And there's still a handful of games that are TBA. We could even see more than 7, but wow, like, holy smoke, like, this is a little late on a Wednesday. So that's all. I just had to point out how funny I thought the
it looks like a candid reaction shot. They're like, all right, AJ, this one you just won the championship. Click. Now this one, 9:15 tip in South Bend, and then click. This is the one you got. Yeah,
not like 9:15 p.m. Eastern time. Like, what? Like, what? So there you have it. So that's the other news that we got for basketball is re-up on your coffee subscriptions if you guys have any, or reload that Big B gift card that you have, because hey, Spartans After Dark is going to be a constant theme here for this upcoming season, and I know that you beat reporters absolutely positively love that, Steven. So hey,
sure, but this is, I'll just say real quick, this is a sign of respect. You Michigan State fans love to cry and moan anytime that there's the slightest perceived disrespect about the brand. This is respect. You get prime time slots, you get late night games. So drink some coffee, as you said, and figure it out.
Amen. Me personally, I don't know who cares about this because it's just my personal thoughts, but I love the late night games. I'm a night owl. I'm going to bed at like 1, 2 in the morning anyway, but like for the majority of people, like I feel their pain. This was not a welcome sight for them. Or AJ Hoggard, apparently. It was not a welcome sight for them as well either. But hey,
the radar's always up for disrespect. You gotta be clear-eyed and see when there's clearly respect being given too. That's all I'm saying.
That does not work with our agenda, though. We got to have the disrespect shoveled on us, and that cuts against the grain there, unfortunately. Shoot. Well, Steve, I'm sorry. Birthday boy, Stephen Brooks, thank you so much for spending some of your blessed day with us. You are the man. You are the myth. You are the legend. We love you. I love you. Thanks a lot, man, for your time. You're the best.
Absolutely. Talk to you next week, man.
You know it. And gang, we'll be back tomorrow. That's right. We have a preview of the Maryland football game. We're talking with someone from the Testudo Times, the SB Nation blog. So, hey, keep it tuned for that. And then Fun Friday is going to be a fun show because, well, it's called Fun Friday. So, hey, keep it tuned here. Locked on Spartans. You guys are the best. Love you all. Go green.